1876.
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans...
Can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect, Senator.
All right, so Ted Cruz got into a heated debate with CNN's Kaitlin Collin over whether or not Cruz will accept the results of the 2024 election. And Ted Cruz really struggles to answer. He tries to obfuscate by bringing up Hillary Clinton, by bringing up election fraud in the 2020 election, which didn't exist. But Kaitlin Collin continues to press him and try to get a good faith answer out of a bad faith person. I'm going to play this clip and I'm going to interject and try to fact check Ted Cruz so you guys know how slippery he's being.
The election, you were the first senator to object to the votes. In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So, Kaitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not. Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. Have you ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
Hold on a second. What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times. But no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
But hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
So, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely. Okay, so firstly, Ted Cruz says that this is a ridiculous question. It's really not. We've seen all of Trump's allies refuse to answer whether or not they would accept the results of the 2024 election, and we have the right to be scared. We have the right to ask questions and to press them about that. But then Ted Cruz tries to bring up Hillary Clinton and tries to say that she didn't accept the results of the election, and Donald Trump did the same thing. But I absolutely hate this comparison. Hillary Clinton conceded the election the next day. She called Donald Trump and conceded. Donald Trump not only called the 2020 election rigged before it even happened, but he even said the 2016 election was rigged. He said there were 3 million illegal voters. He then started a committee to look into that and then quietly disbanded the committee when they found no evidence of election fraud. He took that into 2020 and doubled down on his election fraud claims before the election happened, after the election happened, on January 6th. Even today, he continues saying that the election was stolen and it was unfair. Hillary Clinton also didn't come up with a fake elector scheme. Hillary Clinton also didn't call different election officials across the country and try to pressure them into finding votes. This idea that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are even on the same playing field is totally false. It's not true whatsoever.
If you look at in 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so...
And what happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
So do you want...
Am I wrong?
So you're asking, will you promise no matter what to agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens? And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections. Elections get overturned. Voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post-Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
The media
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
You only ask Republicans that. Because
it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that. So we've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that. So my question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud regardless of what happens.
But was there fraud in 2020?
Of course there was fraud in 2020.
No, there wasn't, and you still objected.
You know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
But you're saying zero voter fraud occurred. That's what you just said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome of that election.
Okay, but that's a different statement.
But no, it's not. Because if it wouldn't have changed
you said there was no voter fraud.
There was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, and you know that, Senator.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
you wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election? But do you know why I
wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
I tried to look through history and precedent, and the best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go. But hold on. What did Congress do in 1876?
How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, I have to know, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect, Senator. And let me ask you, it's Republicans have twisted themselves in knots. It's just a yes or no question.
I'm not twisting myself. I'm answering your question. You just don't like my answer.
And what's your answer? Is it yes or is it no?
So in 1876, what Congress did is it appointed an election commission. It consisted of 15 people. 5 House members, 5 senators, 5 Supreme Court justices. The Election Commission was charged with studying the evidence and making a determination of what voter fraud occurred, and that determined the winner. And what I called for in 2020 was to do the same thing, appoint an election commission, and 11 senators joined me.
Senator, with all due respect, after it had been thrown out of many courts, after the Attorney General Bill Barr, because there was no basis for those court cases.
No, so that's actually
Senator,
not.
with all due respect,
okay, you asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
And you didn't answer the question.
Yes, I did.
Court cases were thrown out.
Hold on a
The Attorney General said there was no widespread fraud. You're not clearly answering the question. I want to thank you for that.
What question am I not? I'm answering every question.
So Kaitlin Collin is doing an amazing job, even with Ted Cruz constantly cutting her off, not letting her get a single point out. But it's worth noting that on January 6th, we knew for a fact that the election was not riddled with fraud. There was not enough voter fraud to overturn any single state. They claimed that there were tens of thousands of dead voters in Georgia. They found 3. They found 3 dead voters in Georgia, and they were all mistakes that were removed. By the time January 6th rolled around, we already had confirmation from Bill Barr saying, hey, there is not enough evidence to overturn the election. This is why Donald Trump kept telling the Deputy Attorney General Rosen, just say there was election fraud. We just need you to say there was election fraud. We'll take care of the rest on our own. Because no legitimate official in the government would say there was election fraud. It was only Donald Trump and John Eastman and Rudy Giuliani and Mike Lindell. So Mike Pence made the best decision possible by certifying the results of the election.
I think the country would have been a lot better off with a determination of what evidence of voter fraud there was that occurred, and instead the media didn't want to hear it and insist voter fraud never occurs. You ought to go back and look at the Carter-Baker Commission.
It was the Attorney General, and my question was about
it was the media. It was CNN that relentlessly pushed that propaganda. And by the way, never
propaganda? That there was no widespread fraud in the election?
That voter fraud doesn't exist, and anyone who says it does is wearing a tinfoil hat. That is propaganda. And by the way, you never asked Hillary Clinton this. You never asked Stacey Abrams this. You never asked Al Gore this.
With all due respect,
and every one of them said the Republicans who won were illegitimate.
I haven't had any of them on my show. We'll talk to them. But I don't remember there being a president who was refusing to turn over the transition of power and facilitated it.
And Trump didn't either. Joe Biden became president.
My question was about 2024. You did not answer it.
Let me say a final point for you. You said they haven't come.
Thank you very much, Senator Ted Cruz.
My opponent, Colin Allred, hasn't either. He ought to come to your show.
Senator Ted Cruz, no answer to that question. Thank you very much. Much more.
As Kaitlin Collin says, Ted Cruz did not provide an answer to that question. He spent the entire time obfuscating, giving this slippery rhetoric about Democrats doing the same thing as Donald Trump when we know that is not true. Ted Cruz also says, oh, the peaceful transfer of power did happen on January 20th, but he knows damn well that's not what we're referring to. On January 6th, the day that Mike Pence was certifying the results of the election, the peaceful transfer of power was delayed. It was delayed into the next night on January 7th, or the morning of January 7th, rather. So the peaceful transfer of power was actually delayed for the first time in American history, despite what Ted Cruz says. My name is Adam Mockler. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment a blue heart if you made it this far, hit the subscribe button. Most importantly, have a great day.